Do you know there are 150,000 Quakers in Africa?
We have almost 20 yearly meetings in Africa. We have 14 in Kenya. In addition, we have Tanzania, Uganda, Congo, Burundi, and Rwanda, and Central and Southern yearly meetings.
What do you know about East Africa? On a map, could you locate Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, or as our friends there say, Tanzania? What about Nairobi, Lake Victoria, Serengeti Park?
If you get on a plane at Kennedy Airport and fly for 16 hours, 1/3 of the way around the world, you come to Nairobi, Kenya. The next day, you can take a bus across Kenya through Maasai country. And the day after, if you are lucky as we were, you walk across the border into Tanzania, where friends meet you with a rented 4-wheel drive vehicle, and you bump along ride together all day to Kisangura, Tanzania. Although Kisangura is only 60 miles from the border, it takes all day because the road is a dirt track eroded by rain into ruts and holes and small canyons. Kisangura is very near the Serengeti National Park, on the other side of the Rift Valley from Lake Victoria. In the late afternoon, we are welcomed into our friend's home. The house, made of concrete blocks, is quite roomy. A fire for cooking is in a little shelter just outside. Our host's mother and father and brothers and their wives all live nearby in round houses made of tree limbs and mud with thatched roofs of dried grass. Because Tanzania is near the equator, the sun is very bright and hot all year round. These houses that have thick walls and no windows are quite shady and cool inside. Tanzania is a farming country. Like our hosts, most people live in small gatherings of houses tucked in fields where coffee, sisal, tea, and cotton are grown, and cattle and goats are tended. Several hundred years ago, when Europeans first came to East Africa, they found people in this area living in highly developed and structured communities, each settlement ruled by a chief in collaboration with a council of elders. Then, until the early 1800s, trade through this area in ivory, gold, and slaves was dominated first by the Portuguese and then by the Omani Arabs. In mid-1800s, the region was colonized by Germans, and after World War I, taken over by the British.
In 1962, Tanzania won independence from the British.
When they became independent, Tanzanians created a unified country out of 120 different tribal groups, and Tanganyika and Zanzibar became Tanzania. Their new president, Julius Nyerere, drew upon African traditions to help unify the country. Everyone here speaks Swahili, and only those lucky enough to go to high school then learn English as a second language. The women wear traditional African dress, and traditional village values of umoja, unity, ujamaa, familyhood, and kujitajamia, self-reliance, are extended to the whole country in an effort to build an African socialism. You may already know some Swahili words because African Americans who celebrate Kwanzaa celebrate umoja and ujamaa.
Tanzania is money poor. The per capita share of gross national product each year is $240.
The legacies of colonialism, and unreliable rains, low farm productivity, a drop in world prices for what they produce, rising cost of oil, deepening international debt, and the politics of foreign aid all combine to make Tanzania and the other countries of East Africa among the poorest in the world. The family we stay with in Kisangura is active in the Friends Church.
The way African Quakers worship is more like people in other U.S. churches and less like the silent meetings you may be familiar with.
African Quakers believe in the inner light, as we do, but they have ministers, and in their churches they sing and drum to celebrate the presence of the Spirit. The Sunday we go to church in Kisangura, young people sing many songs in wonderful harmonies, and their church theater group presents a teaching play about AIDS. In Tanzania, children get up before dawn for a long walk to school. Because there is no electricity, they use a lantern. And because water is drawn from a well in a bucket, they wash up on the front porch using a small cup of water. We visit 2 Quaker schools in Kisangura, a primary school and a secondary school.
Quakers who migrated from Kenya in mid-50s and settled in Mukumu area of Tanzania. And it is because of this migration that the Kenyan Quakers living in Mukumu started this Kisangura Primary School in early 60s. And they lived in Tanzania until 1967, when the country wanted to nationalize everything. And so Kenyans were repatriated and living back Kisangura Primary School. Now the Friends World Committee for Consultation Africa section has encouraged inter-visits, and a lot of activities are taken.
Kisangura moto, moto moto, Kisangura moto, moto moto.
Before classes begin, each child helps take care of the school. At the primary school, buildings are old and run down. And because only 7 teachers teach 600 children, classrooms are crowded. Because there are few books and pencils and paper are seldom available, children often learn by chanting together.
Sema, this is a table. Sema,
This is a table.
again.
This is a table.
Sometimes you find yourself using one book for 70 children in a class.
The teachers speak of many problems, but the children love to read. What is your favorite thing to do when you have free time?
I like to read storybooks. I prefer playing ball. I like to read school books. I prefer reading school books. I like to make shoes. I enjoy reading books.
In 1998, the Quakers and other parents in Kisangura opened a secondary school. Traditionally, in this part of Africa, girls are circumcised at about age 13. Soon after she is circumcised, parents arrange a marriage for their daughter. In this money-poor country, a girl's marriage brings dowry to her family.
We need to develop girls. They need to get education in order to change the environment from the inferiority complex which they have been having in their minds, that they need to be married in order to bring development in their families.
Quakers want the Kisangura Secondary School to become a school for girls. They want to educate girls so girls have choices other than early marriage and can contribute more fully to their country's development. At present, although there is a fine faculty, there are no female teachers at the secondary school. And unless the 3 women teachers in the primary school can afford to get further training, they will not pass new government regulations, and there will be no women teachers in the primary school either.
Girls have no choice of their own when it comes to marriage. Marriage is arranged depending on which family has more cows to pay for a dowry. It is important that our government now accepts the principle that teaching a woman is teaching a whole family. It is true that a few men have changed, but most still treat women as if they were their property and make it very hard for women. We persevere. We do the best we can.
Parents who help build the school speak of additional problems.
I'm very happy to have this school here. Before, not only were secondary schools far away, but there was a lot of competition among parents to place their children in the few schools in our district. We are proud to have built this school in our neighborhood. It is the result of collaboration among government leaders, the church, and our fellow villagers. One problem we have is a shortage of water. Another problem is transportation. When one of our children gets sick, we have no way to carry her or him to the hospital. If we could have enough staff houses, maybe we could get enough teachers.
And largely as a result of poverty, East Africa is struggling with an epidemic of AIDS. The United Nations estimates that 1/3 of all 15-year-olds alive today in East Africa will die of HIV and AIDS. 60 of the children we meet at the primary school and 20 students at the secondary school are orphans of AIDS.
I have lost one parent, Baba, my father. Losing a parent, especially one's father, is very difficult. I don't get the support I need for school, and sometimes they chase me, and they chase me because I can't pay my school fees.
At independence, education was a high priority for the new nation, and in Tanzania, schooling was universal and free. Now, as a condition for debt reduction and aid, the World Bank and IMF impose user fees, and students must pay for their education. As many as 50% drop out because they cannot afford school fees.
My 5 young brothers and sisters depend on me for food and shelter and everything they need every day. Sometimes I miss school or I don't have time to study because I must walk long distances to find food for them. All 5 of them depend on me to pay their school fees. Because of my age and no experience, I have not a single way to get money to assist them. So every now and then, they are expelled from school because we cannot pay the fees. Each day I walk more than 7 miles each way from home to school and home again. At night, I have no kerosene, so I cannot see to do my school assignments. I am so tired, I cannot even study. Maybe to help my family live better afterwards, if I could go to a boarding school, I could avoid some of the disturbances and concentrate on my studies. Then I could offer more support later. After I finish my education, since I am an orphan, I'd like to work with an orphanage. Then I can use my opportunity to help others who suffer as orphans.
Despite these difficulties, children walk long distances to school and home again in order to get an education, and spirit is high. For New Yorkers and others in the U.S., a sister relationship with these two schools means an opportunity for young and old to learn more about Africa and a chance to have friends there.
I want to get friends from America.
If we can raise money to help, we can also bring our lives into better balance through right sharing of world resources.